Welcome back. Cher Cunningham here from chercunningham.com. Congratulations on taking the next step in getting ready for your political campaign. Over the next 45 minutes, I want to share with you the actual 5 levers to your powerful political campaign. See, it's very logical and very deliberate what makes a political candidate stand out and be memorable in all the good ways. I won't be able to go into the entire depth of what we do in the weekend, but this is an overview of the entire weekend minus the exercises, the practice, and the interaction to give you a really good firm footing as to what your next steps might be. So let's dive into this presentation now, and we'll see how far and how deep we can get over the next 44 minutes or so. First of all, asking yourself how prepared you are now is a critical question, as looking at it head-on lets you have a realistic evaluation, not one based on hope or fear. Everyone knows that 80% of your time should be spent in preparation, but the key is knowing what preparation is necessary and how to go about it. You've heard the saying, you don't know what you don't know, right? So these are some of the slides from our weekend in the campaign coaching program. I want to share with you each of the levers that power up your platform and dive into one or two of the tools in each of those sections. Don't forget to download your workbook to get started on the platform lever of your campaign. So as I mentioned in the previous video, one of the first things to think about is taking ownership of your political campaign now. Really start to take this seriously. So step 1 was deciding to run. You've already done that, so check that off your list. Step 2 is making a true commitment. A commitment isn't a, yeah, I think so. A commitment is a real investment of time, money, and energy moving forward in a stated goal with a specific outcome. And it means that you then can marshal the energy and hold the space to get really prepared, and also to build a team that's going to support you. Step 3 is building your platform and taking ownership of what you believe for this election coming up. Not just spouting off party politics or general consensus, but really diving deep into what you think matters, both in the larger world and your local community. Step 4, anticipating the questions and preparing well-structured answers. This is a really big part of what you're going to be doing, because otherwise you just start with a blank slate and sit in reaction mode, hoping to be able to handle the questions that come your way, when in reality, 80% of them you can anticipate and be prepared for in a very professional way. And step 5, practicing your presentation skills for power, both interpersonally, so those door-to-door meetings and chatting at different events with your constituents, and from the stage. And by the stage, I just mean anywhere you're speaking to a group, addressing an audience, whether it be 3 people or 3,000 people. We want to make sure that we're facing things head-on. Accepting that the minefields exist lets you be more prepared for them. Also understanding that a strong local platform is needed. Your party or your larger organization can't really help you out in determining your very local platform. This is all about you and speaking to the people in your community. My goal here is to really simplify how to do each of these steps for you. As I keep saying, there are 5 levers of messaging power. Arguably, there are 5,000. We want to focus and group and simplify, remember? So if I leave something out that's one of your favorites, that you just make sure that you add it into your mix. But these are the ones that really make an incredible difference and are essential. So it starts with your foundation and goals. When you look at building your platform, it goes beyond the stats and the facts, and you need to look at the issues and then say, what are the implications of that short term, long term? How did we get here, and how are we going to move forward? What is your stand on each of these issues? Next, we look at your persona. Now, this is not something that's a fake facade you put on for cameras. We want you to be your authentic, genuine self on camera, at the door, and same as you would be if you were met at a restaurant. It's still you, but you deliberately reveal your authentic voice and values. You deliberately approach the podium every time, knowing who you are and where you stand, and that's what lets a persona of powerful political influence shine through. Another key reason to have a persona that you put on for your political presence is that then anytime your ideas, your solutions, your suggestions get criticized or attacked, you understand it's that political figure and those political views that are being attacked. It's not aimed at you personally. The next place of power is the people themselves. If you were just running in a vacuum, you wouldn't have much power. But we want to make sure that your messages are crafted so that each audience is able to relate to your message and see your passion for service and that they're included. So that means listening a little bit more before you address each audience and understanding the purpose and outcome that you and your audience have in mind for each appearance. Preparation is a big piece. This gets into structuring your answers, your language, your metaphors, making your ideas and thoughts and solutions understandable. It's also about using some languaging skills, such as presuppositions. You don't need to argue every point. Some of them you can just assume. You also want to look at bridging from difficult questions or out of left field questions into the answers that you want to give and making sure that your theme recurs each time. So that's deliberately building out your statements of message, supporting them with the stats and the stories that are going to make them more effective, and crafting sound bites that are deliberately quotable, memorable, and things that people want to repeat. And then, of course, we want to wrap all this in powerful presentation skills. Some of them are as simple as just knowing that when you look confident, you don't have to feel confident for people to believe you're confident. Sitting in a posture of confidence, making sure that you're making eye contact, taking your time and pausing. It doesn't matter if you're nervous. We just want to make sure you don't look nervous. So this is projecting confidence, clarity, and credibility in your voice and body, your pace and tone, so that you're ready for your interviews and presentations. So let's start with your platform. You are the foundation of this platform. While you'll be part of a team with a similar goal after the election, your platform goals and your spin on the issues should not be a result of groupthink of a bunch of politicians. They should reflect an intersection of the needs of the local constituents and your passion. You'll want to be able to dive into the facts, but dig deeper into the implications and share your position on them. Next, your persona. So we talked about this. This is your core theme. This is why you are running for office, who you are, where you come from, and what you care about. The ones you care about the most, those issues are the ones that are going to create the most power in your speaking. And though this is where you're most confident, this is where you should spend most of your preparation time, honing your ideas and your theme for your persona and building deliberate sound bites so that when you're quoted, it's punchy and memorable. This may seem counterintuitive, but as you build your strength here, it will transfer easily to the rest of your platform and back again and add the authenticity needed to create trust, the number one critical factor needed in an election. These are the messages you'll craft, the ones that you'll repeat and that will be repeated by others. They're going to reflect your values, your passion. They're going to present an image of what you want to achieve when you're elected. And they're going to demonstrate your authenticity. And this will happen naturally because when you speak from your core purpose, authenticity shines through, and that's very attractive to people. It's more important that people know that you believe what you're saying than that they agree with you. So let's look at a simple starting point for this persona. We want to take the time to figure out who you really are and sell you on you. There is power in planning this step. It's about being very deliberate. So let's look at a demo with a 60-second intro. So I'm going to give you a little before and after. And then you should do this exercise from your workbook. Brainstorm all of the characteristics on that bio page, scribble it out with pen and paper, actually do it very kinesthetically. Bring everything to the table, your career, your family, your education, your values. Get really real. Now don't worry, we'll scale it back to a low boil of inspiration before it's polished. So add everything. It can get as emotional and woo-woo and flighty as you want in here. Just be creative and don't let self-editing stop you at this point, because we want to turn this into an intro that not only is true to who you are, but also includes key facts that journalists can hold on to and an audience can get a grasp of who you are. So here's a quick demo. Here's a before from an actual candidate when I asked for their basic intro. Hi, my name is blank, and I'm a lifelong resident of blank. I grew up here and raised my family here. I have 2 beautiful teenagers whom I'm very proud of. I work at blank community college in this area, and I've grown up in a political family. I've had the opportunity to canvass and be involved in campaigns from a very young age, which has also made me very involved in my community. So I do a lot of volunteer work in getting involved, and I'm very excited to be a candidate for this region. Not bad for an off-the-cuff intro. Not crafted, though. As a reporter, what did I gain? Well, I know that you come from a political family and you're local. I don't know if you like being a local, or if you really enjoy politics, or what your political leanings are. It's a great start, but let's dig in a little bit deeper. Because as a voter, did you say what I care about? How powerful was it, and how much personality did I see? This could almost be anyone. So here's a revision. Hello, I'm blank, and I'm the progressive conservative candidate for blank. I was born in this town, and I grew up with a love for our rural Ontario. I started campaigning at the age of 5. Oh, not specifically for this role. But about the time I started kindergarten, I began my education in politics, from the people perspective, at events and knocking on doors with my dad. So you know I come from a political family, and it's my mother's political career that inspires me. Not only did she support my father in his career, but she recognized that she has a voice and a passion of her own. Her vision is to make town the best darn town in Ontario. I started out as a faculty member at college. I had the opportunity to not only work in the classroom, but in the community, connecting students and employers for on-the-job experience. So while I worry about the economic situation for my own teenagers, I also see the challenges facing the business community and my students. As I look at the environment these students are graduating into, I see the possibility for us to do so much more. I embrace the challenge to be part of a team with a vision to once again make Ontario the best darn province in Canada. So as a reporter, what did I gain? So I can see that you not only were born in rural Ontario, but you also love it, and that's important for me as a community member. Also, you have a bit of a sense of humor, which is nice to hear. Began your education in politics from the people perspective. This gives me an idea of what you believe politics means, that it's about meeting people, knocking on doors. And I see that you're close with your parents, which is always a good thing for those of us who are family-oriented and about family values. Your mother's political career inspired you, so now we bring out women in politics, strong women, some of the feminist, equality side of things, and voice and passion. That you care about having a voice and passion is important for us to know. And as you speak about your mothers, it lets us understand that this is a value that you have as well. And vision, saying that that is important, means that you're going to be more visionary, and we get to absorb all these things without you having to even say them about yourself. Faculty member tells me that you were a teacher. Connecting students and employers tells me that you're proactively creating those connections, and that's important to me as well, that you go above and beyond. Worrying about the economic situation from the business community standpoint and the students. And again, that's another spin that, and I say spin from a very positive perspective, it's a theme that you apply to everything you say. Seeing possibility paints your persona as more of the hero, as the friend, as the person that is about solutions. And embracing a challenge, you know it's not going to be easy. You're ready for some hard work, you're ready for teamwork, and again to bring a vision with a goal that's big and lofty and can be inspiring. So a few little tweaks that made this much more powerful, much more focused on the candidate's actions in office as opposed to as a mother or as an employee, and very forward thinking with a view to winning this election. As a reporter, I've gained a lot, and as an audience member, I feel closer to you, as well as a stronger belief that you have the power to make decisions and act on my behalf. There's some obvious platform positions that came out there. Better jobs in rural Ontario were two of the key ones. That can then break down deeper into a skilled labor force, support for small business, and possibly some of the infrastructure really needed to support rural Ontario. So from that demo, you can understand that your persona really sets the tone for everything that you're going to say. It filters the message, puts in the things that you're passionate about, which adds power and impact and also makes you more memorable and believable. So for instance, if somebody asked a question, how will you deal with the shortage of skilled workers in Ontario? There are various different ways that this would be answered depending on the candidate. Someone who is an analyst might just want to share the real difficulties. For instance, saying there are 10 key jobs that are really hard to fill in Ontario, and by the year 2030, we're looking at a shortage of 300,000 skilled workers. The hero might talk about how people are coming out of university not prepared for the realities that the labor that's needed is not the work that they were trained in. The activist might attack government and talk about how they've been short-sighted in ignoring the key aspects that are required to build the skilled worker force and the brakes that have been put on and the key aspects that they want to change. You wouldn't roll all of those into one answer. You need to keep things simple, straightforward, and clear. So you apply your persona to each answer to filter only the key pertinent facts that matter to your campaign. The third key lever to add power is people, and realistically it's the people you're speaking to that are going to bring the most power to your campaign. So we've got our platform, we've got our persona. Now let's look at the people that matter. Starting with your core supporters, and I hope you build around you a team of people not that are just hardworking, but that are going to share the facts with you, that are going to confront you with truth and help you remain authentic, and then go out and work really hard introducing you to your potential constituents. Your volunteers that actually are on the campaign, that are going door to door with you, that are answering phones and handing out leaflets, those people need to know what you believe. Just because they happen to agree with some of your core politics doesn't mean they understand your message. So this needs to be a training session so that your power transfers down through your volunteers and out to the forward-facing side of things, meeting the public. And of course, the third and most important people are your audiences. And as you meet each audience, you want to really approach them with an attitude of caring for that audience. And what this means isn't just showing up and being punctual, although that's key. It also means understanding what they care about and how that applies to your core platform and your theme, and making sure that you're tailoring to their needs. Preparation is about anticipating the issues and questions that are going to arise in this campaign, as well as adding in the issues that you care about and crafting your messages. It's about responses to the questions themselves, structuring them in a way that is going to be very clear and really front-loading them for power and action. This isn't about storytelling where you finish with a twist ending. In fact, when you're giving your answers, you want to front-load them so that you have a powerful conclusion at the beginning of each answer. It's about languaging. Sometimes you're going to need to build in a metaphor or share a story so that people really understand. A complex issue is best explained with a metaphor. A huge number is best explained with a story or a way of breaking it down into a more tangible, concrete example. Bridging, knowing where you're going to be hitting those tough questions and how to respond, but bridge it into the answer to the question that you really should be addressing. And designing your deliberate quotes. What are people going to be quoting you on? If a radio announcer has 7 seconds to share something that you said today, what 7 seconds should they choose? You can be very deliberate about what you'd like to see quoted on the air or in the newspaper and repeated through tweets and other types of media. So within preparation, there's a lot of detail. Of course, we cannot go as deep as I would love to go here, but at the weekend we'll get into each of these aspects of your preparation. Platform statement. So I talked about taking all that information, all those issues and questions and ideas, and filtering it down into your platform statements. If you can get this to 3 to 5 basic themes, such as we talked about back on this slide, your obvious platform positions, a statement about better jobs, a statement about rural Ontario, a statement about support for small business, and a statement about the skilled labor force. Those 4 individual platform statements should be written up as messages, a single sentence that includes the problem, implication, and a solution or action. Those can then be supported by picking out 2 or 3 key statistics, a couple of stories that reflect the emotional or specific impact, and then some sound bites. Those are those quotable phrases and sentences that you want to have repeated over and over for the length of your campaign. Next, we look at how to actually structure those. Once we have the content itself, what's going to be said, there is a different structure for a speech versus a statement versus a soundbite. There is a structure that lets you bridge, whether it's the answer bridge message or the bridge message, that allows you to respectfully avoid answering a question that's not appropriate, that it's incorrect, or that has a supposition that just needs to be corrected. It's just not accurate. And how to say, I don't know. It's your get out of jail free card, knowing how to say, I don't know, without having people use that as an opportunity for a jibe. There are 7 basic structures of speeches. So if you're doing a prepared presentation, or if you're being asked a question that you're going to have 30 seconds to 2 minutes, which is the length of a short speech, in which to answer, you can quickly decide what's the core question and then hop into one of these 7 structures to sound truly organized. Structure number 1 is chronological. 10 years ago, this was going on. 5 years ago, this happened. And today what we're facing is this. Causal is the second structure. When this was put into place, or this agreement was signed, it created an environment that created this result. Comparative. In British Columbia, they're doing it this way and having this result, while in Ontario, we're still doing it this way, which causes us to struggle in this fashion. Topical. There are 3 aspects. We need to look at the people, we need to look at the environment, and we need to look at the financial reality. Let's go into each. Next is the problem-solution structure. This gives you an opportunity to both restate the problem and redefine the problem before going into your solution and offering some details of how that would be applied and why it would work. The for or against structure really is as simple as that. Declare whether you're for or against the issue and then explain why. Past, present, future allows you to explore the history of the issue. In the past, what has happened that caused this? Currently, what are we facing? And then what is your proposal for how to change this in the future? And given some details about that. Soundbite structure is something we're really going to dive into over the course of our coaching weekend, because these are the phrases that pay. These are those sentences that you hear quoted over and over again. And some people actually end up having their whole persona summarized in the soundbite that they've created. The short version of a soundbite is more of a slogan, like time for change. However, what we're looking at is something just a little bit longer. Sometimes you'll want to insert a quote within a sentence so that the soundbite is actually not even the entire sentence. But ideally what we're going to craft is a single sentence statement. This might be one of your metaphors. It might be one of your problem solution statements that is written in a way that sounds great when spoken out loud, that has an action or a promise tied to it. We'll have a soundbite, at least one, for each of your 3 to 5 platform statements, and then each of those will be backed up with support. That will include statistics and stories. So that's how we start with that massive message, distill it down to 3 to 5 statements. Then we start building those 3 to 5 statements out with sound bites, and then with the support of statistics and stories, so that you end up with 30 or 40 strong theme statements that you'll come back to in every interview without sounding repetitive, but definitely sounding consistent. Here's a very simple example of a soundbite. High-speed internet has become essential infrastructure for communities in rural Ontario in today's digital economy, connecting students to opportunity, healthcare to resources, and small business to the world. So that's a simple example of front-loading adding in the power phrases. We know instantly exactly where I stand, and it's not wishy-washy. It's not, no, it's very important, and I think we should support high-speed internet where possible in as much of Ontario. No, it's essential infrastructure for all the communities in rural Ontario, because today is a digital economy. That's a very strong statement. Nobody can have to question, what do you really think? You know that I believe that students need high-speed internet, that healthcare requires it, and that small businesses don't have a level playing field. Just from that one simple soundbite. We want to keep a soundbite to 20 to 25 words, under, around 5 to 7 seconds, because that's a nice size for easily being able to pull out of an audio or a video and repeat. NLP languaging is another thing that I really go into deeply during our weekend. We actually spend a couple of modules on this as we look at how to increase your impact through specific, deliberate phrasing and clarity of NLP. How to create relatability by going lateral and chunking down and making things apply depending on what audience you're in or what situation you want to speak to. Then making them more actionable, getting really specific, giving examples, giving those stories, and making sure that we're able to go up to the inspirational level of impact, down to that level of specific action, and across laterally to be really relatable. And then, where necessary, being artfully vague. We don't know what you'll be able to do after the election. We do know what you're going to work on. So we want to make sure you always speak to what you know, not to what you hope. And that's something that, as we look at your languaging, NLP languaging lets you be incredibly clear, lets you avoid saying things that you should not say, and get very specific where it is valuable. And it's also the technique that we use to bridge to your question. Bridging language is also important as you avoid a question that isn't appropriate for you to answer without being disrespectful. So if somebody's asking, when will you stop stealing the taxpayers' money? There's no good way to answer that question because it presupposes you are stealing the taxpayers' money. So when approached with a question like that, you need a response that allows you to say something along the lines of, that kind of question comes up in every election as people look for ways to make our living more affordable. Keep in mind that in our platform we are offering this and this, and then diving into your messaging. Or what we're really seeing is that we need more jobs, we need better jobs, we need reliable full-time jobs. It's important to remember that this problem has been long in the making, and what we're doing and what we're proposing is, and then back into your messaging. Here's what we've been hearing, and this is why we're telling people that. Or even just saying, I'm not sure if that's the case, because it's long been a myth that this has been going on, and in actual fact, here's what we know. That said, what we see as the bigger issue is, or the main thing we're focusing on is, what that allows you to do is not just say, I don't know, that's not an appropriate question. Why would you ask that? Nobody's beating their wife. Nobody's stealing money from taxpayers. Those questions that are just so hard to answer are an opportunity to not deflect, but refocus. And that's what bridging language lets you do. It lets you refocus without looking like you're hiding or deflecting, and dig into either the chunked up, more important message or the chunked down, more specific example of why that's happening. And then what we do when we've got that whole package together, we want to deliver it. We want to wrap it and tie it in a bow and build some simple presentation skills. And we can go as deep and profound with these. So if we're starting at a level 7 for your presentation skills, let's bring you up to an 8 or 9. If we're starting at a 5, let's bring it to a 7 or an 8 as well, so that you've got the skills to look confident, sound confident, and not rush through your message in a mumbly, quiet mode. We look at your voice, how to add some energy to your voice and make sure that you're loud enough. You probably need to be speaking 10% louder than you currently think you should be, and with a lot more energy than you think that you're putting in right now. Your pace, making sure that when you're excited you speed up, but when you're saying something profound, You know how to slow down, and you know how to pause without being worried that somebody's going to interrupt you, because you're treating your message with respect. So some emphasis in there as well. Your presence, how you dress, how you look, how you stand, how you are poised with that confidence of eye contact, and how you hold yourself in a confident fashion, not clasping your hands, not leaning too far forward, but being engaged. And then the interview skills that allow you to actually get some practice. And really that's what we need to do, and why our weekend happens so interactively between people, so that you have that opportunity to practice your interview skills, so that you feel confident and know this is something you can do. And then we can also coach you as we see some opportunities to get even better. So that practice of all of those pieces, and then we put that together in a second video to see how you've improved and ways that we can tweak what your strengths already are. Because what we'll find during this process is that you already have a lot of strengths, and we can make those more apparent, as well as look at some of the weaknesses that would be easy fixes that you're just not even aware that you're doing. And just by being aware, those weaknesses disappear, and we give you some new techniques that will actually allow you to turn that completely around. So my question for you after all of this presentation is this your time? I want to help you make sure that deciding to run for this election was one of the wisest, most profound things you've ever done for your life, whether you win or not. Because the personal growth that you're going to achieve, the connections to your community are going to be profound and long-lasting, or they certainly can be if you are deliberate about what you're doing next. So if this is your time, and if this presentation has helped you identify a few aspects that are going to make this so much more powerful, I want you to really consider my full package. But before you get the full campaign coaching package, I want to tell you exactly what it is so that you know it is right for you. So the campaign coaching package starts with an intake. That's a formal meeting between you and myself, one-on-one, either in person or on Zoom, in which we really get to know and benchmark where you are now, what your existing strengths are, because I assure you, you have many strengths that you may not even realize you have, and a couple of strengths that may need some tweaking to really not be a weakness. And what we'll do is we'll actually do a video. I'll interview you. We'll have a couple of standard presentation questions as well as a few interview questions, and we'll videotape that so that we can evaluate that together and identify your key strengths and key areas that are going to make the biggest difference for growth. After that, we'll want to make sure that we set those goals through our interview and evaluation for what we'd like to achieve in our time together. We're not trying to turn you into a keynote speaker, although I'm not saying that isn't a potential for you. Our goal with campaign coaching is to make you a powerful, impactful, quotable speaker who can stand in confidence and maintain control over the interview and your emotions. Those are big goals in themselves, and we may have more specific ones that are key to what your goals are and what your needs are moving forward. You've already gone through this webinar. I'd like you to make sure you download that workbook and work through your platform piece. We want you to come to the weekend workshop with that completed as far as possible, having sold yourself on you and having a firm understanding of what it is that you have to offer and why you really are the ideal candidate for this election. If you're having any difficulties with that at all, I really strongly urge you to have some time one-on-one with me. It's a simple process to pull out your experience and your transferable skills, but sometimes that's hard to do, all sitting on your own in a quiet office, or even sitting with your campaign manager drinking cold coffee trying to come up with why you're brilliant and why what you have to offer is so inspiring. And I assure you that is one of my superpowers, pulling that out of you. Then when you arrive at the weekend workshop, if there's anything that you had left that wasn't quite finished, the weekend workshop is Saturday and Sunday, full days, Friday night I'm there from 6 o'clock till 9, 10 p.m. depending on the need, to help you with any last minute pieces that you weren't able to get to. If you're having a hard time fitting in your campaign platform preparation into your normal day-to-day life, bring your ideas, your questions, your scribbles to the Friday evening, and we'll make sure that we hammer that down and get everything filled in so that the weekend workshop, which is an immersive, experiential, very fun, you will laugh, you will learn, you will grow as we play with languaging and positioning and presentation in a very interactive, hands-on way. And you will see the growth in 48 hours, I promise you that. Afterwards, at the end of that weekend, we'll actually sit together doing some Q&A, brainstorming some ideas as to what are some of the questions that are likely to be coming up in the election. See, you come from your filtered background, whether you're a doctor, lawyer, nurse, business owner, previous municipal politician, you have your filtered group of people that you spend time with. So what you're hearing, what you're seeing, and what you're concerned about, while very valid, have been limited within a boundary. When you sit down with 2 or 3 other people with their other boundaries, you'll find the overlap and the expanded horizons of what the general public is saying come together in a much more inclusive and comprehensive fashion. So we will actually get you thinking outside the box through that brainstorming session. You'll find yourself coming up with your own questions that wouldn't have occurred to you in a different environment. After that, you get back to your regular home office and you finish some of the work, finish pulling those platform pieces together based on the templates and worksheets that you created during the weekend. And then we have our one-to-one coaching time, which is a 1 to 2 hour session in my office in Barrie, or it can be done on Zoom, though preferably face-to-face. We'll work something out to see how best to accommodate your needs and your convenience to make sure that that coaching session helps us embrace all of the things you've learned, pull in your entire platform, and see where you're at. We'll record this as well, and we'll sit together and do an evaluation and assessment, and we'll adjust some of the things that need tweaking. And this will be followed up with some ongoing assessment and adjustments by email. We can book a couple of Zoom follow-ups as well, so that we make sure that all of the lessons and all of the statements and messaging that you created are all applied to be a powerful foundation for you moving forward in this election. So that as you look back on your time leading up to the election day, you know that you've given it your all. You've made yourself the best candidate that you could be, the best option for election that you possibly could. If you've made it this far in the webinar, you know that this is right for you. Imagine how much deeper this goes when we get together face-to-face, one-on-one, and in our weekend coaching. This is a real opportunity for you moving forward, both in this campaign and afterwards, as you take office or pursue other goals in your personal life. The growth that you achieve in practicing these skills and making sure that you are deliberate and give yourself the respect to do the best you possibly can are going to pay off in the satisfaction of having run an authentic campaign and of giving it your all. So sign up and take the next step. On the other side, you will find the workbooks that go with the pre-weekend course, as well as an opportunity to book that one-on-one intake coaching, as well as the coaching after the weekend. You can select between the weekends that are available on the website and book that right now. Get that in your calendar and let's start working together. I'm looking forward to helping you be the best you can be in this campaign and feel powerfully confident and have a bigger impact.